Okay, the recording is started. I've been doing some site visits out and showing the web client to folks. A lot of it is very similar to the desktop client. And so I'd really like to hear from you either via audio or chat as to things you'd like to go over in particular today. So I want to make sure that you're comfortable with this web client. If you have any questions that I don't have an immediate answer to today, we'll either answer via email or in a future session, but we want to make sure that everybody's questions are answered. Okay, well, I guess while we're waiting for questions, I'll review how to create new tabs in the web client. There's several different ways. I'm in the Chrome browser right now, and if I want to open up a new tab, right now I've got the search open. I can go to the circulation menu. I can right-click on the checkout tab, and it gives me the option to open link in a new tab. Another way that I can create a new tab is to go to circulation and hit the control button, hold down the control button and click on an option such as check-in, and that creates a new tab as well. So at this point I have 3 tabs that I can use to multitask if I would like to. Does anybody come up with any questions?
It's not really a question, but on our slips, the hold slips,
yes.
The patron's phone number and email no longer show up, and they did before. So not really sure what happened there.
Okay. With the update, it used to be that if the patron had an email address in their record, it would automatically print on the slip. Now what it does is it looks at what the patron preferences are, and those aren't automatically selected. If we bring up a patron record, I'll bring up mine, for example. Still under my old name. Okay, if I click on edit, there are some options down here. Under holds notices, I have phone and email selected in my record. If those are not selected, they will not print on the hold slip.
Okay, got it. So now because it updated, we would have to go manually and select what they would want?
What I've offered to sites, and I've done several, I still have some more to do, but I've offered to actually do a batch edit of their patrons and select phone and email for those patrons who have an email address, so that both the phone and the email address will appear on the slip. And if they don't have an email address, then I select the phone option, so at least you get a phone number to print. But if there's already settings specified for a patron, I won't update it. So it's not going to overrule any settings you already have in place. And I'd be happy to do that for your library, to kind of get these already selected so you don't have to do it manually one by one.
Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey Beth, this is Anna. Do you remember on this subject of hold notifications, do you remember that problem that we were having at Hood River where a patron, this information was selected in the patron's account, but the patron was still not getting hold notices? Have you found any other instances of that, or do you think that was just like a one-time thing?
I'm hoping it was a one-time thing. The thing is that when they place their hold, they also have an option to select how they want to be notified. And if for some reason they uncheck those things, then it's not going to go with the default. It's going to go with what they specified for that particular hold.
Okay, so patrons can potentially override that accidentally.
Yeah, accidentally. And I don't know that that's what happened in this case, Anna, but I haven't had a lot of reports of this particular thing happening. And obviously, if others are seeing this, then we need to investigate it, make sure there's not a bug in the system. But there is the potential that they could override the default notice that we're setting up for them at either patron registration or through this batch process.
Thanks.
Uh-huh. Okay, just looking at the chat. So Michelle had a question about reports. Reports are very similar. We have had some issues with the upgrade where some reports that we used to run in the old system are not running in the new system. But to get to reports, we can go to the home. There's a couple different ways to access reports, either by clicking on the home button and clicking reports here on this main screen. Administration also has a link to reports in that menu as well. This is going to look a little different because I'm logged in with my administrative login, so the folders look different. You're typically going down here to the shared folders and clicking on admin, whereas that's up here for me. So when I do a tutorial on reports, by the way, I'm planning on doing small trainings, probably 3 to 5 minutes for a bunch of circulation functions and cataloging functions, and those will be available on the SageLib website. But basically, I can choose report. Let's see, circulation, we could do checkout data. And basically, it's just as in the past, we select a particular report, go ahead and choose the default option, create a new report from the selected template, fill in the fields, so I'm just going to do a report for July, specify the Union Library. And I don't even know for sure which report I chose, but I typically uncheck the bar charts and the HTML output because most of the time I'm just using Excel. Obviously, that's case-by-case basis. Choose my report folder and my output folder. Save the report. Click on output. And there's my union checkouts report. So as a very quick overview of how to run reports in the web client. Like I said, very similar. I did get a report where the overdue reports were not working in the new web client, so I'm going to be looking into that. They got an error message when they ran them. So it's possible that some of the reports I may have to recreate in the web client because they made a lot of changes to the reporting portion of the program, and some things just don't translate well. So does that answer your question, Michelle? Okay. What else would we like to cover? I thought we would keep this question and answer session to 30 minutes, so we still have 15 more minutes that we can address other areas in circulation.
This is Anna again. I have a question for the group. And because I've already talked to Beth about this, wanted to see if anyone else was having problems with their column settings saving properly. We've had issues where they save, we've asked to save them, clicked on save, but then like a couple days later, the settings have changed back to default.
Oh, sorry, forgot to mention that we've done this online.
Anna, you're just seeing this at one particular site and one particular workstation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And even in instances where nobody would have touched the computer between, from the last time, and yet it somehow miraculously changed back to default.
Really?
Yeah, I'm wondering, because these settings are stored as a part of your browser, which, good news for when we eventually do upgrade. These settings will be stored at the server level rather than our browser, which will make it a lot more reliable. But in the meantime, the browser makes a big difference. And I know all of, you confirmed that all of them we were using the Chrome browser. So at least that's consistent. But yeah, it's pretty strange. I would like to hear if any others are having that problem. And while we're talking about changing column settings, let's go ahead and look at something that we might want to, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my patron. Well, what do I want to do? Let's look at check-in screen. We have the ability to change the order of these columns. And you can easily change the order by just dragging things. Okay. So if I wanted check-in date first, and then I wanted, or maybe I want family name first. And then I can put title over there. So I'm just dragging and dropping. The other thing I can do is come over to this drop-down box, and I can deselect things. The items that have a green check mark beside them are the columns that are displaying on your screen. And if you decide that you don't want to, maybe you don't want to see the bill number, you can unselect that and it will disappear. Same with any of these others. So once I have the columns the way I want them, there's a Save Columns option here at the top. And then each time I come into this check-in screen, theoretically, and it's worked consistently for me, those column settings are retained. So that's kind of an overview of what Anna was talking about with the column and saving the columns the way you want them. And basically each screen that has columns, you can do this too. There's lots of different tables in the system, and you can configure the columns the way you want. So for those in the group, have you tried changing columns and saving them? Have you been successful?
We actually just tried it right now because I didn't know about it, so that's pretty cool. But we changed them, went back in, and it's actually still there. Is there a way of saving it?
Okay, did you go up to the Save Columns area once you made your changes?
Okay, no, that's probably what that was. I'm gonna try again and I'll let you know what happens.
Okay, great. Yeah, once you make the changes, you have to go back into that drop-down box and click on Save. Otherwise, it's just very temporary. Okay, Jenny and Joelle have done it. Dia has as well. Okay.
Okay, yeah, that worked.
Okay, good.
That is very cool.
All right, Lori, is it possible to alphabetically organize status fields for item attributes? That's a very good question. I'm going to have to look into that, Lori. On the top of my head, I'm going to say no. Does anybody recall whether those status fields were alphabetic in the past?
You mean on the desktop client?
Oh,
Oh, sorry, Anna. Yes, I was muted.
No, they were not alphabetical.
Okay. I'm going to look into the system settings and see if there's a way for me to determine that order. It's not convenient the way it is, and there's some other places where the order is not alphabetic, and I would like it to be. So I'll look into that.
Well, and then I guess along those lines, would it be possible for for libraries to choose themselves how the order of that, because for instance at Hood River there are a number of ones that we don't use at all and we would rather not have at the top of the list. We would rather have the ones, because I think that in the past we haven't been able to deactivate some of those statuses, but the fact that then they're also up at the top of the menu makes it challenging.
Yeah, that's true. I'd actually like us to review the statuses we have in the system, because I think there are a lot we could remove. Some of them were historical and had to come over from our Millennium system and are no longer needed. So I would advocate a review of the statuses and removing as many as we can. Okay, so Marcia is saying, if I understand correctly, once we upgrade to the web version, the settings we will put in will be saved to the Sage server. I would think so. What kind of things have you discovered with ghosting software, Marcia? Okay, gotta catch up here. Any changes go away after restarting the computer? Oh, yes. That would definitely be an issue. And if that happens, you'd have to make sure you save your copy templates, any print template changes you have, yeah. I'm thinking with the ghosting, you may be able to configure that to not remove the Sage specific settings, but that might be kind of tricky. We'll have to talk more about that. Okay, so Marcia's going to check with her staff about the changes going away. Perry, nice to be able to create and export import templates for column display. That's true. That's not something that is currently all stored in one. Those settings are not exportable, importable. We could add that as a wish list if it's not already, Perry. Okay, any other questions or features you'd like to review? We have a few more minutes left. Okay, Anna is asking about the hold shelf sorting. Okay. So Anna, my quick answer is I believe so. I believe that, but I need to check and see what enhancements were made in 3.2, 3.3, and what's coming in 3.4 to see if this is something that's already been implemented. It used to be that we could double click on the column heading and sort it that way. But I don't believe that that is an option right now. Anybody else know?
Because I think that on the hold list, right, we can click on those columns, but for some reason, for the hold shelf page, we can't, nor can we, do anything but have it sort by hold ID. And this is, at least for us, this is how we use this list for clearing the hold shelf. So it's much more practical to have the last name of the patron when doing that, because right, our hold shelf is arranged alphabetically, and that's something that CERC staff used to be able to do in the desktop client.
Yes. No, that makes sense. So
currently, would you be able to download it as an Excel file and sort it that way?
That's what I was looking at.
I think that's the only option, isn't it?
But what I wanted to do was, first of all, I want to save my columns. What I'm curious about, Dia, is if we download the CSV, will it retain, because I added that last name from the patron to the hold shelf list. Okay, and I'm not sure what it's doing there. I guess it was still loading. Oh, it did retain it, so that's good. So in the meantime, Anna, that's an option for you, is to download it to a spreadsheet, which you can then sort.
Yeah, I think they've been doing something like that up there, but obviously that's...
yeah, it's an extra step.
Especially since we didn't always actually print anything out. A lot of times it was just we pulled it up on the screen and then went to the hold and pulled things, because it's right, in our case, it's right there next to the circulation workstations. So it does require extra steps.
Yeah, I know that I remember seeing something about needing more sort options. And I just need to confirm whether this has already been fixed and we have a specific version of the software that's been fixed in, and see where it's at in the queue.
Great, thanks.
Sure. So Perry had a question about seeing linked records. So I'm trying to think of an example. Basically, in the patron record, does somebody have an example of a patron I could search for that has a linked record? Okay, thank you, Heidi. Okay, so I'm going to enter this barcode. Ah. Okay, the way you can see the linked accounts, you can see that this has a group fine of $5. You go to Other, you go to Group Member Details. And if you notice, it doesn't display anything, but if you refresh the screen, the group details come up. I believe that's a bug, and it may be addressed in a future version. We shouldn't have to refresh it to see them. They should just automatically come up, but at this point, they do not. But that's how you can see them in the system right now with that refresh. Thanks for that example, Heidi. Okay, Lori commented about the need to scroll screens up and down in certain functions. Irritating and suggestions. This is going to depend on the screen size, I think, but certainly something we can look into and see whether there's been improvements made in the newer versions of the web client. So I'll take a look at that. Okay, the refund feature in billings. Perry, I've never actually used that either. So we might have to do that in a future session so that I can make sure that I'm up to speed on that unless somebody wants to step in and help out. Okay, Perry, let's just address, since we're beyond the half hour, I will address that refund question separately, most likely by email. Okay, doesn't look like there's any more questions, burning questions at this point, so we'll sign off for today. I do plan on having more of these. I would like some feedback on whether you would like them more topic specific rather than question and answer, where I indicate, you know, we're dealing with checkout today or check-in. Kind of want to focus these the direction that everybody is needing, so that I'm not wasting anybody's time. So encourage you to give me some feedback on what you would like in the future trainings, and I hope everybody has a good day.